Hey, Emma. Oh, what? What was that for?
Every time you poke your head through that door, I have to fill some stupid request to pull a random, obscure artifact. Or you accuse me of theft.
J'accuse! Well, I'd see why you'd think that. But today I was actually going to ask you if you had any ideas for the new collection's unboxing.
Well, I have been wanting to cover our Crusades armor.
Well, let's do that.
Cool.
Ow.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Collections Unboxing with me, your host, Emma Daly, Director of Collections and Exhibitions here at the Seward House Museum. As I mentioned earlier, something that I've been wanting to talk about on this show is our Crusades armor, which doesn't often see the light of day. We have these three pieces: a helmet, gauntlet, and shoulder piece. These pieces are from the First Crusade, which began in 1096, which means that they are over 900 years old. The First Crusade was a military campaign that took place over the course of 3 years, from 1096 to 1099 CE. The Crusade was organized by Christians in Western Europe in response to Muslim expansion. Although Muslim empires had controlled the area around Jerusalem for around 300 years at this point, it had recently been taken by the Seljuk Turks, under whose rule attacks on Christian pilgrims intensified, and it became increasingly difficult for Christians to enter the Holy Land. The First Crusade, and the Crusades that would follow, was seen not only as a way to recapture the territories in the name of Christendom, but also as a means for participants to atone for their sins. The main crusading force departed in August of 1096. With aid and provisions supplied by the Byzantine Empire, the four contingents reached Constantinople in December of that same year. But not all of the Crusaders would make it to Constantinople. One group broke off in Germany and terrorized 4 cities, massacring local Jews. This is often seen as a significant moment in the rise of anti-Semitism in European history. After 3 years of fighting, the Crusaders took Jerusalem in 1099. Once Jerusalem surrendered, most of the Crusaders returned home, leaving the governance of the newly conquered territories the responsibility of the relatively small party that remained. There would be several major crusades that took place to defend and maintain Christian rule in the Holy Land, with various degrees of success, all the way up to 1291. This included the popular Children's Crusade of the 13th century, where, yes, they sent children to Jerusalem to convert Muslims to Christianity. It did not go well, to say the least. Now that we have the historical context, let's look at these artifacts in greater detail. So the conical shape and this pointy bit here tells us that this armor belonged to the Turkish forces, not the Christian Crusaders. We can see all 3 pieces have chainmail. This would have been our gauntlet. This part goes around your wrist right there. You can see there's some straps and stuff for the back. And then this is our shoulder piece. This would go right on your shoulder, and then this would drape down to protect your arm. But how did these pieces end up here? On his post-retirement travels around the world, Seward visited Cairo, Egypt in 1871. While there, he was hosted by the Khedive Ali Pasha, or Viceroy, of the Ottoman Empire. The armor was gifted to Seward as a symbol of welcome. Seward offered for the Viceroy to return his visit once Seward was stateside again, but the Viceroy suffered from terrible seasickness and declined the invitation. After visiting Egypt, Seward made his own pilgrimage to the Levant. He had been once already in 1859 when he bathed in the River Jordan. But this time in 1871, he planned to arrive with more pomp and circumstance. During both of Seward's visits to modern-day Israel, Palestine, and Jordan, the area was under the control of the Muslim Ottoman Empire. Seward and his companions had no trouble traveling. In fact, Seward had been given a firman, a royal decree from the Ottoman Sultan Abdul Aziz that announced him as an honored and distinguished guest. The firman is on display here at the museum, and you can even see the marks where Seward had it folded up and put in his pockets. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Collections Unboxing. How was that?